This is my game. I'm going to take you through the Unity project and the scripts just quickly to show you how they work, what I did, why, where. So this is the game. What you do is you collect things from these little corals, and the more you get, the slower you move, and then the world state changes a bit. And then once you drop them all again, you dissolve away and shrink back to your normal size. Well, and then you dissolve away. So yeah, that's the game. That's the gist of it. So yeah, how did it? Most of the code for the game is in this movement script I've got here. So this controls the player movement and a whole lot of stuff to do with the collisions and the token collection is what I've been calling them. The collectible elements, they're all done in this script, as well as the breaching mechanic, which is where you come out of the water. You can see that in my playthrough video that I'm going to make. So that, like, gravity and all that kind of stuff happens in this script. Yep. So that's this script. Then we've got the camera stuff that I've got, because I've got a camera offset, like a smooth camera system for the right analog stick. So there's some offset stuff that's happening here, and then it returns back to the original camera position, so it follows the player like smoothly as well. So there's some like damping going on here. Then I've got this circle, which is like a line renderer thing that comes out of the player, and I used some like math stuff to make it a perfect circle and expand nicely over a little period of time, so it looks like a little ping. So that shows the player what they're interacting with, the distance from which they can interact with things. So that was that. I did a lot of fiddling around with shaders, trying to get some nice effects on the water, but that was kind of a bit of a failure on my part, because it didn't really... I couldn't quite get it looking how I wanted it to look, but I did learn a lot about shaders, so that's alright. It's just didn't make it into the game in the end. This is a script to do with the plant animation, so I had to do some stuff with the... so I've got texture sheets, not texture sheets, sprite sheets in the game, so they're like these things, and they're all collected in one image that's divided up into these frames. And I had to do some stuff with the, write some scripts to manage when things, events at the end of the animation, so that they play at the right times, and the states link together nicely. So they, like bounce around between each other. So that's how that works. Then there's the player like changing size over time, so as they collect more tokens they get bigger and smaller, and that's what happens here. That connects to the movement script stuff where the tokens happen. This is just the fade out that I have for the player. I have another object that just matches the player and does the same things as the player but fades them to white when they dissolve, so it looks a bit more special. This is just that rotates the collectible little elements so they look nice and spin. This is some... what was this? This is the sky like follows the player, just so I could save some space on images, so it's sort of like parallax, it's just a blue background basically. I think, yeah, that's what that was. Yeah, and this is the soundtrack manager, so this is some stuff that manages the parameters in Fmod, which is another program that I used to program the adaptive audio stuff in the game. So this is like, I change parameters here and then it changes things in Fmod, and then, the sounds change in Unity on the fly, which is great. This is, what was this? This is some stuff that I didn't use in the end for, I wanted to make some scripts to make like a little trailing effect, but it didn't work in the end, so I didn't use that. This, I ended up calling it tutorial because it was just what I used to fade in the tutorial elements at the beginning of the game, so like the control layout and just the title and stuff, so that's that. This changes the colours of some of the sprites and affects what they look like when the world state changes, so that makes the world look a bit more dead over time when the player's connected enough stuff. This is a little splash effect, so it's some animation stuff, some sound effects. For when the player comes out of the water, it moves this little animation to match where the player is as they come out of the water, and when they go back in, a little splash happens. So that's nice. This is like a sort of snake movement system, so I can add pieces to the player's chain that follows them around when they collect things. and it like follows them nicely, like a little snake kind of movement thing. So I found a sort of tutorial on the internet to follow to try and get that working, and then I ended up changing it quite a bit to suit my game, so that's what that is. What was this? Parallax. This is one of my parallax systems. I think I've got 2 scripts, because the way I ended up doing it with the sky does a different kind of parallaxing, because it only goes left and right, whereas everything under the water goes up and down. It's just the way I did it for like the clouds and stuff in the sky, and then the other ones for the stuff under the water. This is just some stuff. I've got some scripts for the flocking fish behaviour. So there's 2 scripts. There's global flock and flock. One of which is it? Global flock is the one that makes all the fish. And the other one is on each little fish prefab. It like establishes what the fish do when they reach the edge of the tank and how they flock and connect to their neighbours, you know, depending on the distance to other of the fish prefabs that have been spawned by the other script. And then I ended up making another one for some of the background, because I was trying to do some stuff with parallax and flocking, but it didn't really work, so I got 2 scripts that didn't really make it into the game there. This was some other fish stuff that I was just trying to do, but it didn't really work in the end. This is some more of the shader stuff that I've been doing. I was trying to make some distortion effects, so I could make like cool, whatever they call it, caustic water effects with the like ripples on the top of the water. I wanted to make the surface of the ocean look kind of cool and wobbly. So yeah, I followed some stuff, tried to get it working, then I made some other ones. But the effects I got were a bit like predictable and sine wavy, because that's how I started it, and I couldn't quite get it to be random enough. So yeah, all these didn't really end up in the game. But I did learn some stuff about shaders, so that was, you know, valuable in some way. But yeah, that's the gist of it. So that's all the scripts, and the project itself is, I'll show you this scene just so it's all laid out like this. So if I go into 3D, you can see all the parallax elements had to be like lined up like that, and that's how everything, you know, fits together. And then I've got a load of particle effect things. I've called them fish dispensers. So that's how I like dispense some of the things like whales, and there's jellyfish that I made. I think these are just a little tiny little orange fish. Then some more that go the other way. And then I use like particles, just little particles that I made. So they kind of look like they're actually like little dust motes. That's what I was going for, you know, under the water that you see on cameras and stuff. So it gives a sense of depth, and they're in little separate parallax groups to give it a bit of depth. And they're actually, you can see the logo of my game in them if you look really closely, just to spice them up a little bit. And then there's like jellyfish and stuff. They're just different parallax systems. I had to like add noise to most of these particle systems. I mean, I had to add noise to most of them and stuff to make them look a bit like fish wobbling about. A little less so for the jellyfish, because they don't, you know, swim about so much. That's a lot of that. That's the prefabs for the plants. More parallax systems, wall colliders, soundtrack elements. And then here's the flocking fish. They just have their own little hierarchies there. And that's most of what's going on in my game. These are all the folders. It's a little bit messy. There's a lot of little testing folders going on in here. There's nothing in that one. That's where my prefabs are. A lot of animation stuff has sort of made its way into this big open folder. Testing for the sprite sheets. I'm opening the same ones again, aren't I? I did make 3D fish for the flocking fish. I did that in Blender. They're just unlit models, so they look flat. That was all the testing I did for the caustics, the water effect, shader stuff. I'm opening the same ones again. Got sprite sheets, decorations and animations and stuff. It's the FML stuff, but you get the gist. Old little bubble particle effects. Snake movement. These are like the prefabs and stuff that I used for the chain, the links in the chain on the player. The little splash effects, the backgrounds, and that's the project. So there you go. That's what I did.